Hello everyone, welcome to Gosport Railworks. My name's James and today we're doing another product showcase video. This time we're doing it a little bit different because, I want to trial out this method because, I keep making so many models. It's actually hard to keep up doing it the old method. So I figured I'll try to streamline it a little bit by, basically skipping the printing process. So I just want to show you the raw models in SketchUp and then explain how to, put them together that way. So, we've got 4 models here, but we have got a few more for this episode, just to showcase. And let me just say what we've got here. So we've got the SECR D class here. Let me just double check that is the D class. Yes, that's the D class there. And next door to it is the E class. And in the back here, we've got the SECR D1 and E1 right back here. And you can tell they are very nice looking models. And luckily, these are all the models today will be built exactly the same way. They are built using either a slightly modified Farish 4P chassis or a Dapol Schools class chassis. Always a bit awkward saying that. yeah, either using one of them 2 models, and it is actually designed to be modified so you can use it either one. But I'll explain about that a little bit later. So let's have a quick look at some of the details. As you can see, I have put the details on the smoke box door there, and also the buffers there. I've got a few other little bits of details here, there, and everywhere, and it'll be a little bit of a lag because it's loading the full-size models in the back there. But all of these are very slightly different. I know they do look very similar, but there is some differences between all of them. So yes, they are unique. Apart from tenders. Tenders aren't unique in for this class, unfortunately, but they do. From what I can tell from the plans, they are actually meant to be like that. So here we see some of the modifications we can do on the tenders to make them usable for the schools class chassis. As printed, they'll be mostly usable for the P class, 4P class. You just basically knock out this little support here, and knock out the ones at the bottom, and then you can use it as is. It will be a little bit wide, but I've had to make it wide just to make it so it's usable for both types of chassis. And to modify it for the schools class, you just need to knock out this bit here, right in the middle of the tender body, and also this little bit here. Just knock out that bit as well. Just use a Dremel and cut it out. And same with this bit, just so that the motor assembly can stick out the top. And you just have to put a fake cover over the top and put your coal on top of that. You will also need to descrew the DCC DCC socket. Still leave it all wired up, but just unscrew it from the tender chassis just so it's a little bit more give to stick the tender on. But that's them. And have a look at the D1 and E1. So they are very similar looking classes, but they do have very slight differences. Mostly the firebox is slightly different. Otherwise, they do look very similar. So that is the SECR D, E, D1, and E1. So let me just load up the next lot. Next one is the SECR L class. It does also look very nice as well. I have added a little bit of detail up top here, just so that even though it's not a working, what's called now, cab vent, whatever it is, even though it's not a working one of them, it's still a little bit of extra detail. Yeah, it does look very nice as well. Luckily, it does use a very similar tender, so I was able to modify the old one, the other one, into looking like this. So yeah, very nice there. The other side as well. Ooh, that's disappeared. There we go. Unfortunately, these are a little bit iffy at this scale. And lastly, just so off, Where is it? There it is. I have the LBSCR, B4 and B4X classes. Originally, it was just going to be the B4, but one of my customers wanted the B4X, and so I've made the B4X. So there we go. So looking rather nice there. Again, all of these are built the exact can be used in the exact same way in that you just use a schools class or a Farish 4P chassis. Either one will do, and you just need to do some modifications if you want to use the schools class. And yeah, very nice looking there. I did get the little Westinghouse, I think it's the Westinghouse pump on there, and also managed to get some pipe work on the side there. Also for the B4X class, I wasn't entirely sure exact which version my customer wanted, but I made one which had I want to say this is a dome, no bottom part, but this is actually how it is on the plans. So I can actually show you on the plans. That's not the right one. Yeah, unfortunately the engine's in the way, but yeah, you can see there, that's how it is. So I may remove this part, the reverse gear. Where is the models gone? There we are. Yeah, I may remove that. I'm unsure about it. I may try to make it a bit thinner, but I'll see how it goes. And yeah, the Westinghouse pump thing on the other side as well. So yeah, that is them. So that is pretty much it for this video. I may do a little bit about the was it the prototype information, but I won't be printing them off to show them running around my layout because I'm trying to save out doing that. So yeah, I'll do a little picture of each one and tell you a bit more about each prototype. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. So do you like this format? Do let me know down below. If you don't like it, well, this is only going to be, I may try about 2-3 videos, something like that, and see how it goes. But yes, do let me know down below. But yeah, we'll try to get in a little bit of history about each class as well. So I'm going to stop yapping on and get onto that. So I said, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you again next time. So take care now. Bye-bye. The SECRD class is a class of 440 tender locomotive designed by Harry Wainwright for the South Eastern and Chatham Railway. The first of the class to enter service was in 1901, and by 1907, 51 were in traffic. In 1913, Richard Mansell started rebuilding of 21 D-class locomotives with bell-power fireboxes to produce the more powerful D1 class. These bigger engines were needed to cope with the increasing loads on the Kent Coast Line through Chatham. Initially, the D-class was put to work on the Kent Coast and Hastings services out of London. By the 1930s, they had been reduced to secondary train duties and were now carrying the delivery of the Southern Railway. In 1948, British Railways inherited 28 of the D-class and 20 of the D1 class. BR increased the numbers by 30,000, except for the full D-class, which were withdrawn before renumbering could occur. Their final years saw them concentrated at Guildford in Surrey, and the last of the D-class was withdrawn from there on the 15th of December 1956. The last of D1, meanwhile, from Bricklayers Arms on the 11th of November 1961. One engine, number 31737, has been preserved in its original livery at the National Railway Museum in New York. The SECR E-Class was a class of 440 tender locomotive designed by Harry Wainwright for express passenger trains on the South Eastern Chatham Railway. Following the success of his D-Class, Wainwright obtained authority to build a further 5 similar locomotives incorporating a bell-power firebox to provide additional power. In 1917, the SECR board decided that when the London to Dover and Folkestone boat trains were reinstated after the war to use the XLCDR lines. This created a serious problem of producing a locomotive with sufficient power but with an acceptable axle load. Richard Mansell therefore ordered the rebuilding of one example with larger cylinders, boiler and firebox, while at the same time reducing weight elsewhere in the locomotive to create the E1 class. Both classes were used on the London to Dover and Folkestone boat trains and other Kent Coast Expresses on the South Eastern Main Line. In 1948, British Railways inherited all 26 locomotives, 15 that remained as E-class and 11 of the E1 class. The majority of the remaining E-class locomotives were withdrawn during 1951, but one lasted until May 1955. The E1 rebuilds were withdrawn over a far longer period between May 1949 and November 1961, with 3 examples lasting until the 1960s. No examples have been preserved. The SECR L-class was a class of 440 steam tender locomotive built for express passenger service on the South Eastern Chatham Railway. Although designed by Harry Wainwright, they were built during the Maunsell era. Wainwright's original design for the new class was for a handsome and robust locomotive which incorporated a bell pail firebox, with later revisions incorporating piston valves and a Schmidt superheater. After Wainwright's departure, his assistant Robert Surtees made further detailed changes, slightly enlarging the boiler, firebox, and wheels, and substituting a Robertson superheater, before placing an order for 12 examples for delivery by the end of June 1914. After Richard Maunsell took office in January 1914, he agreed to ordering of a further 10 with minor detail differences and Schmidt superheaters. The locomotives were used on express trains on the South Eastern main lines from London to Dover, Ramsgate and Hastings. They remained on these duties until the mid-1920s, when they were gradually replaced by the heavier trains by the newer L1 class and in the 1920s by the King Arthur and Schools classes. Some were transferred to Eastleigh and Brighton to replace worn-out locomotives on cross-country services, but withdrawal began in 1956. The final locomotive was withdrawn in December 1961. None have been preserved. The B4 class were 440 steam locomotives built for express passenger work on the London Brighton South Coast Railway and were designed by R.J. Billington. The performance of Robert Billington's B2 class locomotives had proved insufficient, and they were unable to replace the earlier Stroudley B1 class on the heaviest London to Brighton express trains. Billington therefore sought authority to construct 25 larger and more powerful B4 class locomotives. 12 members of the class were rebuilt from 1922 to 1924 by L. B. Billington with larger boiler cylinders and a superheater. The rebuilt locomotives were classified as B4X. The B4 class successfully hauled the heaviest express trains on the London Brighton South Coast Railway until around 1912, when they were gradually replaced by the larger H1, H2, J1 and J2 classes. Thereafter they were regularly used on slower and lighter services. The B4 and B4X classes remained in service, but 13 examples were withdrawn between 1934 and 1939. Withdrawals paused with the outbreak of World War II, and 6 B4s and 12 B4Xs passed into British Railways in 1948. All had been withdrawn by 1951.